All right, so the purpose of this collective meeting is in the chat, in the group chat that we're all a part of. I think it was Rebecca who raised the point that probably everyone's been thinking over the last 6 months. Put the question out there again, is what can we do, in this time, given the severity and the significance of all the changes that are happening, all of these kind of ways and statutes or I won't say laws, but all of these kind of things that are being imposed on us by the government, and everything, that follows suit accordingly. Businesses, shops, all the social dynamics that have to kind of fall in line. What can we do about it collectively? And like I said there, I don't think really, a group WhatsApp space has its place for back and forth, but I think when we take things this seriously, we need to come in real time and discuss and reason these things out. And it can't all be done in a meeting. It can't all be done in one conversation. It's a build. Do you know what I mean? So first of all, I think it would be a good idea. Someone might have a better idea for the structure of how this conversation can go. But I'll just say it's a good idea for us, first of all, to just kind of get it out there, what we want from such a meeting, such a gathering. What do we want to achieve? What are the key points that people have in mind? What are the key ideas that people might have in mind? And I think we can use this space especially as a space to kind of contribute, the questions, the ideas, but also what do we have? Because everybody has something. Everybody has something very, very unique. And sometimes we don't even know what we've got. It has to kind of be dragged out of us. But everybody's got something. I think I know everybody here to a certain degree, and I know everybody here on the line are beautiful souls with beautiful light, so let it shine a little bit and just think about what you might have to offer such a collective. If we was looking to build something, we don't really want to stretch our capacity out too far. I'm a firm believer in start small, build it up, get a foundation strong, and then we can stack on top of it. We can go as high as we want to go, or as far reaching as we want to. Let's keep it realistic. Do you know what I mean? So less is more sometimes, unless you got a lot, and it's secure, then bring it. Do you know what I mean? But once again, this is a new moon energy that we're entering, and this is why I specifically picked these couple of days to enter these conversations, because these are the times where we want to be using the kind of metaphysical powers behind us to plant our mental seeds. This is just the way that the universe works, especially here on Earth. We use the sun, we use the moon to kind of energize our manifestations. So let's plant that seed tonight, and then we can water it over the rest of the season, if that makes sense. So give thanks. If there's anybody that wants to just come in right now with any kind of specifics to what you really want or how you feel this should go, then by all means, chime in, stick your hand up. I see Rebecca straight away. So anybody else here, just put your hand up in the chat or put your hand up with your little icons. Let's get into it.
So Rebecca. I think first of all, for me, just to kind of explain where the question came from, I've put on the chat at various times, I love being part of this group of strangers who I feel closer to than most of my family or friends, because we have a very similar way of thinking. But at the time, what was really concerning me was these stories of the army on the streets of Birmingham, and not just the army on the streets of Birmingham, but the army on specific neighborhoods in Birmingham and the things that they were doing. So, and even like little things that my son's saying to me, and the dynamics, and already knowing before COVID, the children are being encouraged to not have that social physical interaction. And seeing from things that I've read and little things like Orwell's 1984 and other stuff that we've discussed, just kind of having this fear of where we could be in the next 10 to 20 years. That's where the question came from, because it's all very well and good us looking after us and being aware of ourselves and how to be ourselves. But yeah, it came from a place of fear, because I can't remember who said it on the group chat, but someone was saying about kind of seeing society becoming really, really divided. And you see it in a lot of utopian style movies and TV projects. And I've always been someone that asks the question, is TV or the film industry, are they mirroring what is going to become, or are they predicting what is going to become? Because they've already got a plan in place. So looking at that, that's where the question came from, a fear and feeling of helplessness, because I can only do so much for myself, but collectively I want to do something, and I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that is, but that's where the question came from, because it just seems like we're in this really messed up state at the moment. I found it better to drop seeds of questions. Sorry, that's my son poking in the background. Yeah. He's going, and he's made me lose my train of thought. Yeah, I've learned that attacking it with a kind of sledgehammer of this is my opinion, this is what I think, isn't the way to get other people to see your way of thinking. So it's better to drop seeds, but at a time where it seems really clear from conversations I'm having with people that would usually discard me or think that I'm a little bit crazy or an extremist, they're seeing the same things I'm now seeing. They're seeing that the media are lying. They're seeing that things make no sense. They're seeing that the government are saying one thing and doing it. They're seeing it, but they're still accepting it. And I'm just like, what do we do? What do we do? Because we're just at this impasse, and that's where the question came from.
Yeah, sure. And it's. I think everyone's had the question at the top of their minds. I think we've discussed it a little bit previously amongst the wealth of other aspects. But you know, to me, a key thing what you said, Rebecca, is where the question came from, is fear and helplessness. Do you know what I mean? And I think you know, little reminder sessions like this are key for all of us, because let's keep it real. I think there's at no point during this whole kind of episode of events has anyone been truly free of the fears. You know, I know a lot of us have been doing a lot of work, but there's always some points that, you know, we forget ourselves and we do get sucked in because we are part of the reality, and fear does creep in. And I always say, like, fear can only live where trust don't stay. Wherever trust lives, fear can't stay. Do you know what I mean? So it's always that kind of war going on within, that battle between fear and trust. We want to trust everything we think we know. But if we can't see that outside of ourselves momentarily, then we start to question what our trust is based on. You see what I'm saying? So I totally get where the question came from. And I think it's you know, I love the sincerity, the way you opened it up and tracked its source, because I think those points, and I think they kind of point to one of the areas where I feel collectively we should really focus on kind of mending or strengthening or building. Because if we can't hold our trust together individually, then collectively we're going to be weakened. There's going to be a lot of weak links, because these times are especially reserved for the kind of pioneers that have built up this kind of cultivation of trust in their experience. Sometimes that comes from a very spiritual place, spiritual journey, or just a conscious journey. Sometimes it comes from a religious place. Some people come and angle it with just the knowledge and the academics. Whatever it is, yeah, we've got to hold on to this trust, but that's obviously easier said than done. Do you know what I mean? So what we need to do is identify all the kind of mono and micro experiences and potentials that we do have individually that allow us to realize and experience an alternative experience to what the masses are going through right now. Do you know what I mean? So maybe that's an area that we can kind of touch on. And there's a lot of dynamics that can restore that within you. But this is where that kind of paradox comes into this situation. And this is why, like, you know, I'd rather fall back a bit and let the group kind of bounce and chime in with the ideas. Because to me, it is a paradox. It's the nature of the universe. And as much as, you know, it is a kind of self-development process, and we have got to be selfful in this situation, meaning that as a, you know, rather than using the word selfish, when I say selfful, I just mean that we have got to kind of channel the attention and focus on ourselves, yeah, with that greater agenda to be able to contribute our strength and the power that we accumulate to feed it back into the collective, because there's no kind of one without the other. It's always going to be an internal that mirrors an external experience or external achievement. You know what I mean? So, yeah, thanks for just bringing that in and breaking it down. So I think you give us a good kind of angle to address. Shani, was it Shani? Yeah, I think.
Yeah, hey.
Your hand. What are you saying, sis?
I'm good, thank you. Good to see you all. Greetings. I'm glad the question was posed in the group as well. So thanks, Rebecca. And I'm glad it was asked in this WhatsApp group as well, because we're all very real and we've all got a lot of experience and knowledge. We've got a wealth of knowledge and skill set. So from my point of view, you know, first of all, in the WhatsApp group, I was speaking very grand, and, you know, my vision was very grand, but it was just coming from a place of wellness and staying well. It's very true that, you know, we get caught up in fear regardless of, you know, how spiritual and, you know, how herbalist we can be. But yeah, I think my idea is just centered around staying well in the mind and body. So I know we're governed by these guidelines at the moment, you know, with social distancing and minimum amount of people, maximum amount of people that can be together, I should say. But I'm just thinking of the action being, from my perspective, exercise classes or yoga meditation sessions. As much as the world and especially UK government are trying to keep us apart, I think it would be great for us to stay connected in real life and face to face, maybe arrange meetups and stay within guidelines and, you know, do what we're doing and encourage others to join us as well, because it can be quite isolating for some. You know, not everyone's got family, not everyone's got children, not everyone's got partners. So yeah, my positioning is coming from maintaining wellness and, yeah, sharing information as well.
Yeah. Powers. So yeah, the solutions, that's straight to the solutions. And yeah, I recall you posting in the group, Shani, you know, just a message of that nature. And yeah, agreed. You know, this is something that, especially towards the end of this month, I was gonna kind of try and focus it more towards the full moon. But yeah, just basically and to be honest, there's a lot of silent listeners and readers in that group, about 100 of them, you know, because I get a lot of inbox messages outside relating to things that people are posting inside. A lot of people that don't, you know, people are all different, so not everyone's comfortable or confident to kind of post their points in a open space, which I appreciate. But so I definitely see a lot more contribution than what we actually see in the group, and I see a lot more people taking away than what would present itself in that group. So my kind of thought was, yeah, when it comes to again, dealing with the collective.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing we have to do, because it's like, you know, we don't want a circle of weak dependent beings, not to say anyone here is. If we can have a circle of warriors, then it, you know, because we know the nature of society, and anything that is strong, that is not supposedly status quo or dances to the music that's being played, you know, by the kind of governmental radios, it gets targeted. And the nature of what they've kind of created now is they've got us policing ourselves. You know, the divisions are important. We know their game plan. They create all of these divisions in society, in community, in your own household, you know, in politics, in religion, in race, in sexuality. All of this is all divisions. Yeah. But ultimately, we know what they are doing is they are dividing you, they're carving you up from your inside. So we don't even know who we truly are or what we truly stand for, because we've been internally divided. And it starts in education with the subjects, everything's separate. Do you know what I mean? They deal with segregation over education. So they compartmentalize all our thoughts and ideas, where really we should be seeing it as a whole. We should be seeing the language in the sports and in the history and in the maths. We should be seeing the maths in the science and in the language, etc. So it's just about remembering ourselves, putting ourselves back together. And I think the best way for us to do that on an individual basis is taking responsibility, like you said, for our health and our well-being. Yeah, because as soon as we start to clean the filters, as soon as we start to tune ourselves up and tune ourselves in, everything else, well, we're able to then tune into the rest of the channels that are on our different frequency bands and widths. Do you know what I mean? So the way we can do that is definitely be sharing more information regarding diet, health, detoxification, nutrition, how to build ourselves up properly. Do you know what I mean? With the proper herbs, the proper diet regimes, how to clean ourselves out so that we're not blocked and stagnant, so that true information and intellect can flow through. And not all true information is the same for everybody. And when I say these information, these kind of inner formation that we have, these mechanisms, so everyone can bring a new truth. Everyone has, you know, eureka moments, and that's possible all day, every day. You know what I mean? So, but the way we can accomplish that, and we have to turn ourselves back on, we have to activate ourselves. So the diet, and when I say diet, not just food, but the things that we indulge in and the things that we overindulge in, you know? So we've got the various, sometimes it's just our habits, whether it's sex habits, whether it's TV habits, whether it's music we listen to, whether it's the friends, you know what I mean, whether it's the drugs, whether it's the, do you know what I mean? We've got so many kind of habits that contribute to our diet, i.e. the energy that we consume, and whatever we consume, we become. Especially with the information, I noticed in this time particularly, you know, people go on scouring rampages, all these YouTube links are getting shared, you know, everyone's watching everything constantly, updating, getting the new info, you know, learning the truth or seeing what's being exposed or who's being exposed or whatever. That doesn't always serve us. Do you know what I mean? Really, there's so much info that wants to be coming through us right now, such is the nature of the time that we're in. And, you know, if you ask me, this is why so much emphasis is being placed on distracting us and feeding us with negative information, is to counterbalance and to counteract all of the quote unquote positive information or inner truths that are supposed to be coming through. So I think we can definitely focus on diet. There's lots of people in that group that supply and create a lot of very powerful products that we can all be using day to day. So it's also about supporting what people do. I've been hit hard a lot of times and, you know, attacked for not sharing the other things that I do or the products that I create for people, you know, in them spaces. But it's just my nature. I'm not a salesman. Do you know what I mean? So I do a lot of things outside that I just don't post in the group. You know, and that's my own. It's not a shyness. It's just
It's just a humbleness. I get it.
Yeah, but it comes a time when I appreciate that, you have to let the people access the goods. Do you know what I mean? And I'm going to put that out there to the group, because I know there's a lot of people that have certain information, certain knowledges, certain products, certain services that we can all benefit from. And it gives us an opportunity to support each other differently. Exercise classes, the same. Again, with the yoga, I do so much yoga out of town and online for other people and places. I've really neglected home. Do you see what I'm saying? And it's so powerful, not just the yoga, but the more specific meditation sessions, the more specific breathing exercises, the more specific just sitting down with each other and talking, just airing out, that kind of healing therapy through reasoning and conversation. Do you know what I mean? So I can definitely try to, be more open with those sorts of things.
Why don't we have certain days in the group then? So I don't know, like a sales Tuesday or something, or promotion Tuesday, so it doesn't go, all the way into just becoming a sales group and promoting, because we have got a lot of things going on between us. So why don't we pick a certain day when everyone shares their products or online
other
events?
Or other people's products, any products or services that you know of, especially if they're local.
Yeah. All right, then. Just two things I want to say before I pass on to someone else. I think children in our ways of progress moving forward need to be the focus with whatever we're doing as well, and keeping their minds, nice and balanced and clear as well, and not overly polluted with what's being told to them at school and, all of that stuff. And then secondly, what was I going to say? You see, with, the eating liberty, all of that there, we know. So I think we just have to remember that that we need to widespread it. It's for others as well to be encouraged to come away from certain things. So it's constantly, spreading out to other people who are outside of the group as well, to encourage them. So thinking of ways that we can embrace others into ways that we already know about. I'm not saying we know everything, but yeah,
for sure. And maybe we can set kind of group challenge days or tasks where we can try and incorporate a certain day or two of the week of a certain diet type or eating program or detox method, where we all try to maintain that and share it with our families as far as we can.
That would be good. That's a great start. I'm going to write it down. But thank you for giving me the space and time to share.
Thanks for sharing. Anyone else got contributions or comments to those points?
Easy, bro.
Yes,
all good,
yeah, man, come through.
Yeah, man, I just want to say blessings, man, and wholeness, and send love to everyone in here. I liked what everyone was saying. Suppose it's one of the things I wanted to raise is that, how we're definitely moving financially into a whole different thing now, where the cash is going, and I see a lot of people like a lot of the brothers that not really on our level in terms of the way we're thinking, but they know that if something's wrong, and they're saying, "Oh, the cash is going," and I'm like, don't even worry about the cash going. These banks are going to be shut soon. It's all going to be on cryptocurrency. And I've been knowing about this stuff for a while, and I was back and forth in my head, because you get so much it's just just basically a bunch of information, and you've got to learn to discern from it, and whether it's something you want to be stepping into. And there's many people, when this stuff started coming out, saying, "Oh, the crypto is how they're going to bring the new world order and the one world digital thing and all this shit." But from what I can see, which I wanted to see who's aware of this stuff in here, is like how, to me, it's the enemy of the banks. Like, that I think the banks are moving towards the crypto because it's like they see that there's no beating it, there's no getting away from it. So that I think they're going to be looking to do centralized version of it for the masses. You understand what I'm saying? So I just wondering like what anyone else's thoughts on this, because I feel like if we're going to be operating in these cities and we ain't moving out to nature and building off-grid communities, which I assume that's where we're at this moment, even though we'd love to probably do that. I reckon we need to start to know about this stuff and start to really, try and take time to start learning a little bit about it, because you don't want to be getting pushed into it. You want to be in there, because at the moment it's a space. There's certain parts of it where, if you know what you're doing, you can get involved, and you can benefit from it. Do you know what I mean? But if they push you into it because they've gone, all right, well, we give out all these bounce back loans. Everybody's had like whole heap of like benefits from like us looking after you and bribing you to stay at home and blah blah blah. This has fucked the economy. Now it's all crashed. So now we've got to do digital currency, and it's going to be based on whether you've had your vaccine and a social crediting system and all this kind of stuff. This is the way I see it going. I might be wrong, but I'm just opening that up and putting it out there to see what anyone thinks in the chat and that, you know what I mean? Because
Sorry, finish your thought. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, if anything, man, like if you haven't already got your little bit of land or your little space outside of these fake cities and this fake system of control, then you're gonna have to survive within it, innit? And I think if that's the way it's going, then we got to start to learn about this stuff, man, as hard as the learning curve might be.
So I just wanted to add to that. So when you were mentioning the banks and stuff, I've been in the process for 2 years of trying to put myself in a position to buy my own house, the house that I live in, which I rent. And for the past like couple of months, I've been trying to get valuations in, and that's beside the point. I'm just giving you a bit of a backstory. So the point is this. I had a valuator in my house today, and I've had him in under the guise that I own the house because my landlord was supposed to sell the house to me. And anyway, the valuator said something really, really interesting to me today. So we're being told by the media, by the news, that there's going to be a recession and the market's going to dip. And he was talking to me as a house owner, and he's telling me my house, because he thinks I own this place, is worth a certain amount of money. And it's a lot more than I thought it's going to be worth under the guise of what we're being told by the media. And he was a really, really, really down-to-earth person. And I actually said to him in a different lifetime, we'd actually be friends, because we started to touch upon conspiracy theories. And what he was saying to me is, you can't be listening to what they're saying live about the kind of financial situation of the country, about the fears that they're putting in place. He says, especially with the housing market, he says, you don't listen to what they're saying on the news about it. He said that what he's found, and he's the second valuator I've had, and he said exactly the same thing, the market's at a seller's market. But he was saying, from his point of view, with his personal opinion attached to it, and working in this kind of environment for such a long time, he sees it as the Conservative government especially are using this to just bridge that gap even more. And they are encouraging the poor to stay in. They're encouraging the poor to stay cautious and to not make any moves. But the rich are still doing exactly everything that they need to do and moving how they need to do, because they've got their own agenda. And he said he's seen this very much more so under the Tory government, and he's been in the estate agents for years. So I don't know about cryptocurrency, I don't, but I was one of those people. I thought now would be a brilliant time for me to buy, because, I'm being told by the news the market's going to crash. But actually, I'm hearing now from someone that's within it that what they're telling us yet again isn't reflective of what the true agenda is. And us as people that kind of are underneath that level of understanding, to a degree, we are again being led by the fear and led by what they're saying, when them lot over here are just doing what they're doing and making their money. So I just wanted to add that, because it was just something I was told today, which kind of, I kind of went, oh, okay, really?
Yeah, I mean, I know that Rex has got his hand up as well. Rex, are you speaking to the crypto, bro, or is you speaking to another point?
This cryptocurrency, I think it's valid to a certain degree because of what they're doing, but I think there's also a problem sometimes when we become too focused on what they're doing and putting too. I don't know. Can people hear me?
Yeah, man. Good.
Can people hear me? Am I going through? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think there's something I'm focusing too much on what they're doing. I love what was going on, the kind of vibe in the group, the collective kind of thing. But I suppose what I was going through the whole lockdown was thinking, utilizing this opportunity to bring people together, kind of thing, and almost realizing that people are very much stuck in these bubbles, whether they're concentrating on 5G, whether it's a cryptocurrency. Everyone's got almost their own personalized conspiracy theory, which they're paying their focus on. Where I feel, as a collective, this is all good. I love the WhatsApp group, but the ultimate reality is it's a virtual collective. And just like Shani was saying earlier on, about us finding reasons, excuses to come together and get to familiar with each other and become on the same page. I think we can only do a certain amount of connectiveness via Zoom, WhatsApp, all these other things, without being in everyone's physical presence. And to me, on my heart, regardless of whether they're doing in cryptocurrency, regardless of what the powers that be are doing, if there's a collective within the people, then I think very much so we don't have to focus so much on it, because we can create our own currencies, our own way. Well, not even currencies, but trade. Go back to trade, how it was with ancestors back then, rather by I think a lot of it is about regression, going back to ancient ways rather than trying to focus on moving forward. But I'm not sure if I put my point across properly, but I'm a bit nervous. You can tell, but yeah, that's pretty much what I'm kind of trying to get at.
I feel what you're saying. I think I was going to jump in earlier and talk about a similar perspective. I always come up with this question, yeah? I don't know if you can hear me. I just want to say greetings to everyone as well. Yeah, I feel like this perspective that's there is that it's a distraction. I feel it's another distraction. From my perspective, it's another distraction from who you are. And if you know me, I always ask this question, who are you? And this is another distraction. If you're going to get into cryptocurrency, that's fine. I think knowledge is good to understand a lot. But it's another distraction. What are you going to buy with that cryptocurrency? Food. You're going to need to feed yourself. So most people on here, like you were saying, are knowledgeable about health and all of these things. So the question is, who are you? Especially in these groups, yeah? We have to be aware of these group dynamics, because some people get stuck behind, not expressing, and it's about who you are. And I feel like a lot of words were said, such as the individual and all these things. What is the individual if you're going to be in a group if you don't know who you are? So it's about knowing who you are so you can actually be an active member within that community. And what that happens is that helps so all those fears go away when you are
Sorry, Marvin.
Advise other people in other ways. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, bro. Yeah, can I just remind everyone to mute your mics if you're not talking? Because sometimes we get that interference and we can't always hear exactly what the speaker's saying. Respect, everyone. Sorry, Marvin. Yeah, carry on, bro.
Sorry. I'm out taking a walk. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear me properly, but yeah. Yeah, and I feel like it's about who you are, and I think Ryan touched on it as well about being the individual, and groups are only strengthened by strong individuals who can actually participate within that group and be active members of it. And that's when those things happen. When you're being yourself, for example, when people are talking about, fear and stuff like that, that goes away when you are being yourself. You express yourself, which helps you to. So, for example, children. Yeah, a lot of people out here have got children, but when you're not being yourself, those children will feel those energies. So it's about when you are being yourself, the children can feel the energy of expression while you're doing those things. That's what builds those communities and the strengths within other people to see the inspiration. So I think, like, in these type of groups, I think it's not about like trying to make an effort. It's about being yourself, expressing your angle. I'm going to go to see a doctor who is recommended, than going to see a doctor who's not recommended. So within the group, I will go and see those members who are probably active and know a lot about certain information. So I think that's how we build the trust and build that confidence to actually be ourselves and inspire each other. So for me, I ask everyone in the group once again, who are you? It's a tricky question because it's an internal journey that takes you into discovering your strengths and weaknesses and stuff like that. So it's I put it to the group for that. I think I just wanted to say that, who are you? That's a way of expression. You don't have to necessarily say I am Marvin. No, who you are is the things that you express, the things that make you unique. I hope I'm being understood a little bit. I'm a bit passionate about the topic.
Yeah, give thanks, bro. Definitely coming through. Yeah. Was this someone else with their hand up? Is that you, Joss? There's somebody with a S8. I think they've had their hand up. I can't see a name. Or is that you, Joss? Yeah.
Someone mentioned, is it Shani, about the cryptocurrency? I think I didn't see the question. Something about can it transfer to normal money? Obviously, I'm just still learning about it. It's just all it is. I'm just looking at, like, see, for me, I'm just looking at the way the world's going. It's like the mask thing that's going to soon turn into the vaccine thing, innit? We can all see that, right? There's a bunch of people who are down with it. And then obviously there's the likes of us who are not down with it. And then there's other people who are like, wow, I know it's all bullshit, but I want to go on a plane. So you get me? So if I need to go on a plane and need to take the vaccine, then you see what I'm trying to say? Whereas for the likes of us, well, for me anyway, it's not even a choice. If I ain't going on a plane, I ain't going on a plane. If I have to jump on a fucking speedboat, sorry for my language here, to get over to Europe, you understand what I'm trying to say? I'll find my way. But basically, I can just, it looks to me that there's not really much we're going to do to stop what's going to be happening in these cities, bro. Like, I can't see, I'm very like, I'm much of the thought that I'm close to trying to find an off-grid community, yeah. But if it comes in like a thief in the night, like this COVID virus has, do you get what I'm trying to say? Then you got to survive while you're here, innit? And I kind of, it looks to me that it's going to digital tokens. I've looked well into it, mate. So, like, obviously, in terms of who I am, I'm a musician. I do music. I've tapped into, like, thinking on a higher level, or what? Not even higher level, just more of a feeling kind of level, feeling energy and all this kind of stuff through music, and that's got took away from us. Yeah.
I'm feeling you, yeah, because what you're saying to me is it's definitely true. We are moving towards crypto and digital everything, but that's a minor. That's inevitable. It's about who you are. To create solutions is to find who you are, to express yourself and find the solutions within yourself. So yes, it's about being full, like you're saying, like Brian was saying, yeah. It's about understanding yourself, because that's how you are going to actually provide solutions, not only for yourself, but for others. And if it's crypto that's coming in, then you will be knowledgeable enough to be the one to connect the dots. So it's about keep learning. And once again, it's about being yourself. Within knowledge of yourself is when you're going to find that path. And it's all understand. I find it's all inevitable. I think it's all inevitable. If it's going to come digitalized, fine. But if you know who you are, so say you're a doctor, for example, if you're top of your game and you know who you are, then it's going to come to you. That energy still comes to you, you know what I mean? So I think it's a partly, if you still don't know who you are and you want to get into crypto, then it's not going to come, because you don't know who you are, and it's going to take that energy to know yourself, to be able to harness that energy so you can actually manipulate it, or know how to, whatever, invest in it and all of that type of stuff, right? So I feel if you don't know yourself, you can't be able to, you won't run a business. You won't be able to understand what depth you can get into. But then that infinite potential comes from knowing yourself. It comes from knowing what you're worth and how much you need to work into something, or learn more about cryptocurrency and how to connect it as a musician to the music that you're making, or how to start, that I find that is key. And in this type of moment, we need to start really investing in ourselves. Yeah. And I ask everybody, what makes you interesting? It doesn't have to be I'm an engineer, but it could be I ride horses, you might find there's a lot of solitude in that, where people can actually say, this brings happiness to my life. And that's the expression that people look at you and go, oh, wow, look at that person enjoying themselves or enjoying their life. So that's the inspiration. And that is more powerful than trying to read from a book, just looking at someone who is inspired by being themselves, Can
I just ask you both the question? I'm really sorry. Both of you have said the word inevitable towards cryptocurrency and towards Corona and the way things are going. So what does that mean? What does that translate to if how the world is currently playing out? I mean, when you're saying that, do you mean it's inevitable that things are going to go their way and we're just going to have to find a way to live outside of it? What does that mean?
I think that when it comes to the choices that you just made, that those are very personal choices. An individual decides to move to another country and stuff, and then maybe join another community. But inevitability for me means the cycles of life have shown that this is not new. The patterns of people who want to control other people are not new. So we seem to be going through them again. And so for me, that's the inevitability. Whatever shape or form it might take, that's the difference of it. We are living in different times. And when it happened, however many times and before, we got introduced to money, we got introduced to all forms of different ways of living our lives that we acquiesce to, and all sorts of things that now we're actually trying to refigure out and configure and go, okay, this is what's happening. So some of us are starting to see those patterns, and it's hard for them to keep blocking and trying to stop us from seeing what we see now. And like you were saying, that a lot more people are really waking up, and it's inevitable that they wake up once again. And almost scriptures talk about these inevitabilities, and it's not even that you have to study the scriptures. It's just studying patterns in your own life. You start to see them. This is, once again, knowing yourself. You start to recognize the patterns within yourself, which helps you to recognize the patterns in others, which, what we might call intuition or instinct, which we seem to have lost as a people, sort of thing, I'm going on.
no, you cleared up what you were explaining, Marvin, actually, and in a less fearful way. Thank you.
I think I'll just speak to crypto a little bit. So I've got a few years experience with crypto myself, and when it got kind of pointed out to me, it's probably about 4 years ago when it really when some very trusted friends said to me, sat me down and said, look, man, you got to get involved. It's going that way. And if you think about, like Marvin saying, just check the patterns. Like we can see, I also believe it is highly inevitable. Well, I know it's inevitable that we will shift our mechanism of currency. It's going to shift into a more digital form. Like, look what the phrases are right now: track and trace, track and trace. These mechanical entities that are basically dictating our lives are all about tracking you and tracing you, knowing every move. And we can see it's already started its progression onto digital through online banking and
I like
also
what you're
credit
saying.
cards.
China is the model. Like, this has been for, I used to say like 10 years, 15 years ago, people would laugh at me. But China is the model. In China, they can test people, 1 million people in a day, which the West find very fascinating. So China's really like showing off what they can do right now, you know? And I find that seems to be the model. And we're moving towards that. Most African countries have taken that model on and are taking it on as well due to China's influence. And you're right. So I had to just add that that model seems to be following that.
Another influence that another model that they've been fashioning that the West is really grasping towards is like Just was saying earlier about, which I also think is inevitable, the way they're going to kind of get what they want in terms of how society runs is it will be based on kind of a social model that is incorporative of like a points-based system, i.e. if you ain't got all your health checks or updates or boosters, if you're not kind of on these electoral kind of roles, you will be more pushed out of the benefit or privilege system. Now, to govern all of this, they're gonna need a 5G based track and trace system, something that's instant, something that can pull up all your information instantly to any server that wants to see it. Do you see what I'm saying? So, and China have been implementing that for years now. You see, if you've even been running red lights, they've got in some provinces, they've got the system so tight that every move you make in society, you gain points or get points deducted. And the amount of points you have on your social card, on your social digital card, will determine what benefits or what accesses you can get within the society from the system. And if you can't gain certain benefits or accesses, then you're kind of ostracized from certain elements of the society. So you have to be very, very dependent, self-dependent, and self kind of generating as a person in order to be able to say, you know what, stick your finger up to you lot, I'm going over here, I'm having my allotment, I've already got my yard and whatnot, I don't really need your benefits. You know, the way it's happened, 95% of us in the inner city, we ain't been wired like that. Not to say that we can't build our own bridges out in our own communities, but we have to realize that, we're building from scratch, so to speak, because we've got a decent car or we go on a holiday once or twice a year. Like, that's very, very different to the kind of positions that we need to be in. Do you see what I'm saying? In order to be able to stick our fingers up to the society, to the system. So for me personally, I think this is where the strategy and the mastery has to come in. And I think for a while, we have to play that game 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to bring too much attention to yourself when shit starts hitting the fan. If it starts to escalate, you want to quietly go under the radar, but collectively, whilst we're building our exit strategy and we've got our kind of our strategy in place and planned for what we're doing, and that will be much more helpful as a collective. And then joining with other collectives, like I say, we're not the only ones having these conversations in the UK right now. All the world, we've got people here on the line, from other continents in the circle. So these are the kind of connective bridges we need to be making with other groups and with other communities that think alike, and that also have resources and access to resources that we might not have in a city or we might not have in this country. Do Do you know what I mean? This is where this generation of us need to be very powerful in our mastery and our strategy. And it isn't about trying to change the world because the world is also trying to change the world. This is just about like minds coming together and creating an ideal for ourselves. But as far as crypto goes, someone asked if it can be transferred into pounds. Yeah, it can. You kind of, what will happen is once you've accumulated so much crypto, you can draw it out into your bank account. And when it reaches your bank account, it obviously translates into pounds, whatever that crypto is worth at the time. I got pulled in about 4 years ago. I made some little investments. I had a little play. At the time, it went up, but then it kind of went really, really, it sunk really low and went down, and it went very kind of quiet for a while. And I know people myself who had some massive investments in crypto, and it reminded me of a sort of the old stories about Wall Street where things crashed and people lost hundreds of thousands of pounds to millions of pounds. I know people that have had them kind of collective investments in crypto, and I've watched that kind of happen to them. Now it seems to be picking up. Is it inevitable that it's going to transfer into this digital currency? I don't know if Bitcoin and the other ones, the Ether, will be the standard. They might just be the kind of pilot model for what the digital currency is going to become. But I definitely can say hand on heart that we can't avoid it going onto digital currency. So it would kind of favor us to get kind of digitally literate as far as currency goes. Now, there's a guy in the group, Stelios, who's much more forward, researched and thorough in cryptocurrency than I am. And he was actually teaching workshops. And the group was actually kind of getting crypto info. I think it was just over a year ago. So we kind of visited crypto a little bit. But like I say, crypto took a nosedive for a minute, and now it's just picking back up. And we can see with all of this fiat and scaremongering, part of their new system, their new order, hence all the kind of capacity to govern high-tech, high-capacity data and information with 5G, part of the rebuild is going to incorporate crypto. I was on the site the other day. I can't remember what it was. I think I was buying some products, some health products, and it actually said at the bottom, you can get 40% off this product if you buy using Bitcoin. And I was like, whoa, we're seeing it. Do you know what I mean? There's in little areas, there's a lot of encouragement. I'm in 1 or 2 crypto groups, some Birmingham based, and these guys are just, and they've been going for about 18 months now strong, every day bombarded with all the updates, information. And these people are very, very researched and very thorough in it and very confident in what they're doing. So yeah, I do think it would favor those who are interested to start just, understanding the language of digital currency. Definitely, because we don't want to kind of shy away from the inevitable. Like I said, keep 1 foot in, 1 foot out, play the game, dance with them. Do you know what I mean? But don't, just because you dance with them don't mean you got to go home with them, if you get what I'm saying. So we have a dance, you know what I mean? And then maybe what we can focus on is how we can use such a digital platform to favor us. Do you know what I mean? So like I say, we get our services together. Like Reds was saying, the brother kind of referring back to kind of ancient ways and systems. Why is it important to do that? Because civilizations have been built. We're not talking communities or societies or a little empire. We're talking civilizations have been built on these certain blueprint models of us just trading our services, trading what we have that is of service to someone else or can be valuable to someone else. Now we want to understand how we can start to trade those services without having to exchange money. Do you see what I'm saying? If we need to exchange digitally, then we want to kind of practice and get into building our smaller models this way and seeing how we can develop ways like this. There's examples of nations, islanders and things that built phenomenal civilizations just on trading coconuts. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously we know the value is only placed on where we put it or what we put it on. Do you see what I'm saying? So whether it's a piece of paper or whether it's a card or whether it's figures on the screen, but like Marvin keeps stressing, if we come to know ourselves and know what we have to really offer, you know, then we can start putting the value on that and learning how to change or trade or exchange that which you have, which is unique to you. And one idea I would like to suggest before we hand it back over to another contributor is, because I think a few people have touched on, Rebecca put a question in the chat box I just read. She said, should we say who we are, you know, and what we do in the group? Yeah, but I challenge people to put something in the group, at least a person a day, or at least everybody once a week. Just say what you do or what you have to offer the world, whether it's a voice, a song, a poem, whether you've been teaching, whether you do yoga, or whether you're just great at making cakes or ornaments, whether you're anything that you do, yeah, just, and not so, oh, we can all, you know, bow and honor you. That's all great. But just for you individually to start to learn, to open yourself up and to start identifying what skills or values you actually have to share with the world. Because a lot of the time, our own problem is, our own barrier is, we're too fearful to share ourselves. We're too fearful to admit our own greatness. Do you see what I'm saying? So don't be shy, start sharing yourself. You know what I mean? Even if you do it behind a hidden mask or whatever, or just put something that you do there and let people clap you. Do you know what I mean? Just take your flowers, you know what I mean, while you're alive. If you're a great parent, if you're great at working with children, if you're great at working with elderly, then let people know, innit? Because this is the way we really get to know and appreciate each other. And this is the way we can network based on our strengths. Do you know what I mean? Or what we're comfortable or confident doing, or who we're comfortable and confident being. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, man, respect to all them points. Anyone else jumping in on the line? Anything that's...
I've just put a suggestion in the chat, back to kind of the action of what can we do, and following on from what you were saying, Ryan, about us sharing ourselves and our skills and our talents, and then back to kind of an action of what can we do. I've said, would it be, I don't know how people would feel or be interested in this, but like we talked about earlier, nutrition and the crypto currency. We've talked about children's workshops, making sure we're educating our children. Would it be a feasible idea to kind of suggest a weekly theme Zoom where one of us from the group would take ownership and we'd teach something or share something that we felt we were skilled in? Or because we've already mentioned really great topics, nutrition, crypto, there's been yoga mentioned. So to start as a starting point as to what we could do collectively is educating ourselves wider in a better form than just WhatsApp. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, I feel like we could do with practicing to put a curriculum together, just a self-educational curriculum, i.e. what do we want to learn, what do we want to know more of, and then seeing who we've got in certain spaces that know a bit more about those things. And like you say, creating the space to share. Everyone just share, well, not everybody, but who wants to just share a little bit about what you know, or what you can do. Yeah, definitely. As far as health and nutrition goes, yeah, I'm definitely up for that. And a lot of yous know what I've done in the past. Programs and workshops is the thing, but especially the group now, I'm definitely willing to raise that back up. Especially getting to know your body, how it works, how to feed it, how to cleanse it. Yeah, for sure. And yoga, and I know there's great people in the group with likewise information. And also metaphysics, man. We're again talking about the inevitability and people becoming awake and aware. Like a lot of the time, this kind of consciousness that people are entering, that we think it's so spontaneous and synchronized, but this is one of the most ancient topics of study and education that we think is new age. Do you know what I mean? It's nice to know what we're kind of coming into, and we're just dealing with metaphysics. We're just dealing with this kind of ancient old science that has been most protected, most sacred, and most well kept, you know, and that we've been kept out of. And call it spirituality, you know, call it religious to a degree. Do you know what I mean? Call it consciousness, call it metaphysics, call it what you want, but there's other levels and other layers of our being that is coming online now, that it would really help people if they just kind of learn to understand how actually not normal, but how natural it is. And then that will give people the confidence to kind of expand and explore it further. And that will give people the insight and accessibility to their own higher communications, and then to really comprehend what other people are getting at when they talk in a kind of more symbolic form or fashion. Do you know what I mean? Because it's still, a lot of stuff can come across as a lot of gobbledygook to people, and a lot of spooky stuff, and a lot of conspiracy-based stuff. Do you know what I mean? But like Marvin's saying, if we start to learn the patterns of how our own biorhythms work in relation to the times and the astral bodies, how they're working, and the correspondences between that, then a lot more things start to make sense. And a lot of the fears we can start to let go of, because fears are really based in confusion as well and insecurity. So the more we become secure within ourselves, you know, the more secure we can become when we want to expand ourselves, you know, and we can do that with confidence, collectively, most definitely. Ankara Ashe, is that your hand up, sis?
Yeah. Greetings, everyone. It's been beautiful. Can you hear me? Everyone hear me?
Yeah, clear.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, greetings. It's been beautiful to listen to everybody's beautiful, valid points. I've really been like kind of chiming in on everything that everybody's been saying, and a few points that like kind of really resonated with me is like the knowledge of self, and also how there is so much happening right now, and about kind of discerning what exactly should we be focusing on for our own expansion of health, our own expansion of knowledge, and our own expansion of freedom. So there's been points made about kind of the off-grids and looking into what needs to happen to go into that, if that's what someone's desire is, and that's what Spirit's telling someone to do. There's the whole food and growing food. It's like someone mentioned cryptocurrency, and are you going to be buying food? Well, and the whole control with that. But then if you can, you know, somewhere that you can get food from, even if it's abroad, like the tropical foods. I've got a couple of links actually that have people in Thailand that are shipping over high nutritious quality foods like your mangosteen, your dragon fruit, and been able to ship it over, and that's where they have the control then, when you know who you can trade from. Because let's say if there is a control with money, and you can only have this much if you tick A, B, and C boxes, then if you've got your own networks and your own fields, then that keeps you suffering to a certain degree. So I love the points about community and knowing who around us does what. So we've got that in-house community, and once we do it among us and that works, I feel people start to ask about what's working. So there's so much value that we've got in ourselves, and so much knowledge and wisdom that we could go out and spread and teach, but what we're actually going to be doing will have more impact than anything we can really speak on. it's going to be, if someone's thriving, someone's going to clearly ask her what's going on, what are you doing? So I feel like it was a beautiful, beautiful point made about bringing the community together, knowing what people do, trading with each other and things like that, because we do have so much to offer as a collective between us. We've got so much rich gifts, talents, abilities, knowledge, services. So yeah, once we start that coming together and actually doing that in the physical and setting those plans, building those structures and seeing how it works with us, that's just a beautiful, beautiful start.
Yes, beautiful, man. Yeah, beautiful points. Give thanks. Yeah, collectively, man, we can you see, that's been one of my barriers. Like, for example, you know me, you know my appreciation, especially for the fruits, man. And I spend a lot of time trying to source external suppliers for foods and nutrition that, you know, we can't get here. It's not the same if you go into Asda and try buy mangosteen at bloody £4 a pop, or some, you know, some when they got some sweet sap or something in there. But to generate networks externally that we can depend on, yeah, we need, what I always realize and cross about is we need that kind of community to support that channel, because there's always a minimum quantity order. And it's like, the idea's there to go and order a pallet of the finest bloody mangoes. Do you know what I mean? But then, you know, you can only get through so many mangoes on your own and give to your family. We kind of really need a collective agreement and inputs into making these kind of trade route channels. And inevitably, collectively, ideally, what we want to be doing is all putting down on land and growing agriculture. Now, some of you know, I've been on this for time, and it's only because I used to scream about it. And then it's, you know, especially them times when I was screaming about it, people wasn't so on it. So I just said, okay, I'll do it on my own. So now I'm there with land and growing things, but it takes time. Do you know what I mean? And I want to create those channels. But these days, a lot more people, or it's just the time that people are resonating together, are coming online with the same ideas and the same motives. So, you know, here in England, like I've just had a meeting this week actually with a guy in Buckinghamshire who has a wealth of land. Well, it's his family's land, and he's selling it off, which is not an opportunity that is usually granted to anybody. Because the way, and I was speaking to you know, his family members, and they're like, yo, the way this works, which I already knew, is that the rich keep it all in-house. Do you know what I mean? So it's not all his land, and we're talking plots and acres for miles and miles in some of the greenbelt regions. So it isn't even advertised commercially. Do you know what I mean? But the point is, there are land spaces and things like that still available in the UK, which we can really put our feelers out and try and acquire, even if it's just a 20 meter by 20 meter, even if 20 bloody hands have got in it. Do you know what I mean? It's not necessarily about everyone trying to get their own investment and comeback off it. It's just about, okay, understanding, like other communities do, that we need to build for our community. Do you know what I mean? We need to start off, and I'm a land lover, because if you understand land and you know the value in fertile ground, you know you can put a seed in there and that will give back for life, season after season. We shouldn't have no other worries. Do you know what I mean? So it's definitely building or seeking collectively channels and networks where we can get our hands on a good supply of strong, nurturing food. I think that is one of the highest importance that should be placed on any collective wanting to really do something for themselves, because we know the true light is coming through the food and the consumption, especially in this time, if we know the biomechanics of food in relation to light, in relation to the body, and that translation and that transformation process that occurs between us and food, real food, no GMO, then we understand its importance, and we understand that there's no life without it. So it would be nice to kind of have those conversations collectively and actively, putting the feelers out and agreeing together. Okay, if we get a pallet of mangoes, what's the plan with it? Do you know what I mean? We all agree to invest a little bit in it to take for our families, but we all agree to try and put it out there to other people. And before we know it, we can have a bloody collective that is, taking over bloody Asda. Do you know what I mean? Just because it starts with such a powerful intention. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, definitely down. And I think Red just said in the chat about, these virtual meetings can only take us so far. You know what I mean? It's very, very true. You know what I mean? There's such a power in the communion. So we do want to be coming together to learn and to grow. Do you know what I mean? And that's definitely something that we can be arranging more. And we all know we've been doing that, but it's just such is the time where it's kind of gone social distancing. And to be fair, as far as social distancing goes, there's a time for everything. Do you know what I mean? So I do appreciate the times metaphysically of us kind of distancing ourselves and just finding time to find ourselves. Because I know a lot of that has been happening in this time, especially for me even. As much as I tried to make time previous in my life to find myself and to listen to myself, this whole pandemic time, it was just beautiful at times for me. And I appreciate that it's been beautiful like that for other people. But going forward, ducking and diving all these measures, we do want to find time to come together, to bloody, breathe together, to eat together, to dance together, to, share together, teach and learn together. That's going to be, hopefully, I like to say that's inevitable too. But when we do come together, we want it based on a plan, and we want to know what we want to get out of it, so we can make sure that we are actually growing and not just filling space.
It feels like at the beginning of the pandemic, there was this really beautiful shift in society. And I was still working on the front line, and it was just beautiful to drive and see people cycling and see families walking, and just this simple creativity in life. Like when it came to birthdays, just little things, and where we thought we had to do these big extravagant things, it wasn't about that anymore. It was this appreciation of just being with people, and you physically saw it, and people were just nicer to each other. And we were encouraged to be that with each other, and it was beautiful. And then it was taken away, and then we were hit hard with watch each other, stay away from each other, avoid it. And it almost feels like, I don't know if it was purposely set up, but it was quite cruel in how they did it, because they set up this world where we got reconnected with people, and that was everybody on every level. And then they took it away, and they didn't just take it away, they were then encouraging us to actively be a part and not be in a community. And even to the point now, we're almost being asked to monitor your neighbours and police your neighbours. And I think in a really short period of time, it's quite, for people like me who are aware of what's happening, it's quite emotionally draining. But for people that aren't aware of it, it must be so much more confusing, because it was this wonderful moment of togetherness, and then the complete opposite in a really short amount of time.
Where there's will, there's ways, isn't it? So we have to find the measures to counteract and counterbalance, and they can't stop us, so we have to. And if it just means that there's a little bit more time where it's difficult for us to come together, like as regularly as we might want to, like, let's not worry about that. Like, that's okay. It's kind of like the idea of not being in a relationship, innit? the way I've always seen it, you know, when people, oh, I just need to find someone, I need a relationship, I'm not in the, it's like, yo, if you're not together with somebody, that's because it's not really that time. Like, you have to know that. That means it's time for you to work on yourself so that you're ready for that person who's coming to the table, because ideally that person's going to be, you know, going to take a seat on the throne next to you. So they're going to have that royal kind of, you know, attraction. So you want to be 100% for them. You don't want to bring a half-baked cake to the table. Do you know what I mean? So in that sense, I apply that to everything. If they're telling us, oh, we have to distance from each other, okay, that ain't because you say so. That's because I've ordained that from above. I just need more time. So it's more time to work on yourself. We might have to do a few more Zooms, just a few kind of smaller social meets and whatnot. But that's okay. As long as you're spending your time with yourself, building yourself, then when we do come back together, which is inevitable, it's going to be a lot stronger. Do you see what I'm saying? So I kind of see a lot of this situation like that. So, and that allows me to just drop any fear or confusion about it, because I know this is a very power potential time. So if I have to spend more time just on my own or with my family or in my house, cool. I'm just listening. Like, fortunately, I haven't been restricted in any way, shape or form during this pandemic. Do you know what I mean? I haven't. I've gone anywhere I needed to go, done anything I needed to do. And I think most people have. Do you know what I mean? That's the reality of it. I think sometimes we can look for the problems, do you know what I mean? Instead of saying that, actually, this is kind of a weird solution to a problem that I didn't even know was apparent. You know what I mean? Just because they're ordaining it, yeah, don't always make, like, negative isn't always bad. It's just another necessary pole. You know what I mean? So we can just look at it like that, but we can plan and we can set the intention so that when the space opens up, could be next week, could be next month, could be next year, we come together, but we know what we're coming together for. If you see what I'm saying. And shout to the people across seas as well that are on the line, because that's, as like we were saying, we need to create these channels. Do you know what I mean? And same way in the group, services, what you do, what you're good at, keep filling it in the group, man, because we see you and the world's getting smaller, you know, and we need our children knowing and playing with your children across the seas and across continents. We have to build those bridges. Do you know what I mean? So it's, you know, it's want to be as close to our brothers and sisters on the different continents as we are to our neighbors here, because we've all got something to give and to share with each other, you know, and it's just that time. Any other questions or comments or points to any of the above from anybody who might have been sitting waiting to get in? So I haven't been keeping an eye.
I would just like, I mean, something came to me with the whole, I don't know if anyone read or everyone read my message on the group, basically about the forbidden fruit. As humans, we're told not to do something. In a lot of cases, you tend to find everyone running towards that something that we're told not to do, kind of thing. So I was thinking, in a sense, would it be like some kind of weird twist if, like, there's some kind of, I don't know, omnipotent force which is telling us to stay apart, tell us to have this social distancing in order for us actually to come together. I'm thinking, I know that's very like a far gone concept and very unlikely, but you know, it could easily be twisted that way. Just like Ryan was saying, you know, not everything is necessarily bad, and not everything is made out to be good is necessarily good. So it depends on how we utilize the situation, very much so, and how we perceive it. Because even if their intentions were to make us all social distant, make us divided and whatever, we could feed on that in the sense of, you know, as I said, forbidden fruit, run the other direction. But yeah, that's it.
I think it's that, brother. I think it's all of that. Like, in my hand on heart, like, I don't think it. I know that's what's going on, Dan. It's like Marvin said, there's patterns, man. Like, I remember these sort of kind of astrological patterns. And in order, like, we can't just like, everyone knew there was a great shift coming. Everyone knew there was a consciousness shift that we was on the brink, we're on the cusp of, and we're on the cusp of it now. That's what I'm saying. But in order to get a shift across, the systems have to be so shaken up to a degree. This is the chaos. But chaos, like, the way we've been trained and thought, even when we study the ancients, everyone thinks order is the bliss state that we're always getting to, but the actual power is in the chaos. Chaos does not necessarily mean confusion. Like, that's where people get confused. People think chaos is without order, but chaos is that kind of magic that creates order. Chaos is source. Chaos is all that where the big bang comes from. We have to trust that intelligence. Do you know what I mean? That's where all these modern day sayings come from a chaotic situation or from a negative situation. An opportunity opens. One door closes, one opens. But there has to be that transitional point, that friction where energy is generated. There's always a friction. There's always two poles coming together, clashing. This is the politics in order to generate another creative energy. This is the same thing you do when you're making a child. The two poles come together and create that friction. You know what I mean? This is what generates creative energy. So it's just about where you are with it and how you see it. And that's going to determine all your capabilities within that situation, or your access points or your checkpoints, what you can achieve through it, or how you kind of sludge your way through it or become a victim through it. So I just appreciate that, okay, for a start, we knew 100% 2020 was going to be off the chain compared to any other year we'd experienced. Yeah, we had many discussions about what it might be, what lengths it might actually go to, what depths it might go to, in order to create the sparks that are necessary to initiate the new change. Do you see what I'm saying? Just because governments and global forces are implementing this show, this theatre show, like, I go above them, always have. It's like, I don't want to talk to you, mate. I need to go above you. Like, what's going on? Do you see what I'm saying? And when you go up there, it's like, okay, yeah, necessary. Like, allow them. Do you know what I mean? Because what else would have shook people up this way? What else would have made people realize, you know how many people kind of come into awareness and consciousness in this time?
Yeah.
People would have slept away through another 10, 20 years.
I think you're right, like, Red, yeah, what you said is bang on, in the sense, like, this is the journey of man. Like, it's like, if you really look at what's happening, this is the journey of man, that they're taking away us from that focus, taking us away from that focused journey of man, which is the two polars, which is the only thing that's there. So they're trying to mix that up. So you are right about the bite on the apple and all of that, the dark side and all of that, because they don't want you to look at that, which means you're going to have to acquiesce to whatever they give you. So the power, like Ryan is saying, to rise above that is to go back to the center and internally define who you are, because that's where the power is. Speak to any millionaire, yeah? They'll tell you that, but they won't tell you how I just said it. They'll tell you that they can afford to do this. They can afford not to do this. They can afford to live a certain lifestyle that stops them from being under the government, which is controlling of the mind. So rising is going back to your heart. Like, what defines you? Where's your heart at, you know?
Yeah.
I feel you. I like your question still.
So we're agreed. So I think so far what we want to start looking at then, just in terms of a group dynamic, is it's still out there. You know, people just having a bit of confidence and trust and willpower to just open up and just say, yo, I do this. I speak like this. I write that. You know, just share something that you do in your life, or that you're comfortable with doing, or that you're skilled in or learned in. We want to kind of devise a little kind of self-education, self-development program or curriculum, you know, especially around kind of health, well-being, you know, the tools for mental health, you know, maybe a full moon or new moon meditation, just to help people find balance in their minds, some breathing exercises, all of that stuff. Any other skill sets that people have that feel like the other people can benefit from, Let's make them into workshops. If we can do that live in real time, that would be great. If not, if, you know, whatever mechanism is resisting that at the moment, but then we can always come and we can use these kind of digital platforms. Like I said, we know that they're not necessarily ideal or good, but we're alchemists. So if there is a source of technology here, like, we can use it, like, we can do this. Do you know what I mean? Everyone can be comfortable in their own home, and we can do this, and we can plan how we can do this in real life. Even if we all take a trip to Africa, do you know what I mean? And we just start putting £1 in the jar for like 18 months time or a year's time, so we can do this out there. If we all want to go and do it in Portugal, if we all want to go and do it in Costa Rica, do you know what I mean? Because we've made them connections, we've built them bridges, you know? And differently, but the focus was also on the children. So yeah, we really want to come together and see how we can kind of generate or formulate a program that will serve the children. Cryptocurrency, I'll definitely ask Stelios in the group to maybe put a video or two or another meeting or two together for those that are interested in understanding the basics of cryptocurrency, and then maybe collectively deciding what coins may be good to kind of invest a little £10 or £50 or whatever may spare initially. Any other questions or points that people would really like to benefit from collectively as a group, or think we should
Sorry,
focus on?
just how I am, very anal, as you know, what Ryan used to work with me. Are we gonna book in another meeting to kind of, so we've suggested certain actions. Are we gonna book in another Zoom collective meeting to see if we've put those actions into place and how that's going, so we can monitor the progress that we are making collectively rather than it just being left in the air? Are we able to do that?
I think we're able to do that as easily as we put this one together, you know. But yeah, I think what would be good is if someone, anyone, just puts kind of a summary of the conversation up in the group, so we can remind. Yeah, and then we get to the implementation stage of how that really looks when we're trying to implement it with structure, organized. Do you know what I mean? These sorts of things that come from conversations, but like I say, it's new moon. We really want to plant a strong seed, and we want to plant it in fertile ground so that it takes roots and it sprouts. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just, you know, all of us just throwing this and that in at it, and it isn't really catching the soil. You know what I mean? So yeah, what I've learned is structure is key and planning is key. Not because it's the academic way or what we've been taught, it's because I realize now metaphysically that's when you start juicing it and watering it, you know, with the intention. Planning is like enhancing intention. Do you know what I mean? So I appreciate that aspect of it. Yeah, if there's anything else, like I say, if people want meditation sessions, yoga sessions, things that just help you find balance and your own kind of center spiritually. People want to do little metaphysical talks. I know there's people in this group right now who are really great at speaking, especially from a more spiritual or metaphysical space, have a lot of knowledge and insight in those areas that people might be able to benefit from in these times. Then please feel free, man. Just, you know, it's an open space for everybody to open up. Do you know what I mean? As long as we're all just patient with each other and tolerant and appreciate that, as long as we give each other permission to kind of open and share, that's what's important. Do you know what I mean? Someone might not be sharing things that are on your wavelength, but all we have to do is remember that, we give that permission, we give that person permission to share and to open up, to be free, because we're trying to help each other realize and recognize who we are. Do you know what I mean? It's self-realization time, and that's what strengthens us and that's what secures us. So I think that kind of little pact is important in the times that people just allow each other. You know what I mean? Music, artistry, you know, any forms, share, man. You know, take your bows and take your claps. You know what I mean? Be appreciated. It really counteracts the opposing energy that other people might be feeling. You know, so I'm just gonna fly through the messages real quick, see if there's anything that season self-employed. Yeah. Seasonal shop from our growings. Again, yeah, we do want to shift the focus as well to aspects of food and how we kind of feed ourselves. So yeah, maybe we should just kind of put people at the heads of certain aspects of these dynamics. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just putting it all in and it being a free-for-all. We might not get much done that way. So Rebecca says, both my parents have allotments. It's good. Not necessarily where we pay rent. A lot of car boots and outdoor market stores sell great food. Yeah, that's true. Crystal bowed out. I think you're right. Cool. Well, I don't think there's any more questions. I like the full moon, new moon get-togethers. Restful and educational trips overseas would be a great experiences together. Yes, Delias. Yep. Luke, so much wealth being shared this evening. Blessings, common unity. Thank you for the space. Based in Birmingham. Respect, Luke. Yeah, man. Yes, my brother. Just be here, man. Do you know what I mean? A lot of silent people on the line as well. Yeah, you're welcome. And, you know, this isn't about proving anything to anybody else. I'm just challenging people, myself included, you know, just beat the fear with yourself, man. If there's something you know you've got and you can just share it in the group, even if it's just a word of, you know, high vibration or anything. Just share it just to kind of open up. And the reason opening up is important is because check the narrative. It's lockdown. Yeah. So we counteract each word. That's what the open up sessions were about previously. They're trying to lock, we open, try and push us down, we go up. Do you see what I'm saying? Because if we don't open up and we close and constrict ourselves in these times, then we miss the magic. We don't get to eat from that fountain of intelligence that's been showered on us from above and from within. So this is why fear, physiologically, it constricts all of your vessels, all of the nadis, or the neurological channels. Yeah. And your neurological system, your sensory system, is what is detecting any external changes in the environment. We're not talking about this shallow external environment where we see all the struppiness going on. We're talking about the real environment, external, outside of the atmospheres. So if we close ourselves due to fear, confusion, uncertainty, yeah, then we miss the magic. We don't get our fill of the cup, our entitlement that all our kind of divine forces, ancestors are trying to shower us with right now. So that's why it's important that the best way to beat the fear and to face the beast is to open up. Do you see what I'm saying? Obviously protect yourself around your own environments and your circles. You know, do whatever ritual or whatever it is you do to make sure the energy around you is clean, but do open up, even if it's in the meditation. Do you know what I mean? And open yourself up to the blessings that are coming through. And then, you know, we can practice this in many ways. Demonstrate that you're bigger and you're higher than the fear frequency. And we can do that just by sharing and kind of willing each other on. You see what I'm saying? You know, that confidence becomes real. It's a real energy. You really feel it. He who feels it knows it. You know, so that's why I'm just encouraging, because I want us to get into that practice. And when we get confidence, man, that is the fuel for the vehicle. Do you know what I mean? That's what really drives something forward. You know, so, you know, Godspeed, no fear, sort of thing. Yeah, so are we good? Any kind of finishing? Because I think we've been going 1 hour and 46 minutes now. It hasn't felt that long, probably because I've been chatting a lot. Apologies if I've been taking up space with the talk. But if anyone's got any closing opinions or views.
When's the next one, Ryan?
Well, let's just go back to the group, yeah, and discuss some of the things.
I'll calm myself down.
I think if we
My
just
corporate brain, sorry.
nah, good man. But we'll go through the process, innit? Just try and iron out some of these points and get a bit of structure behind them. And yeah, like I said, let's keep it realistic. It don't all have to be done by next week. Do you know what I mean? But as long as the intention's there and we really try to decide how we can really build something. Again, if you know, I think a big one, if you know yourself personally, anyone in your family, any of your friends you work with, any people that you know of any other groups or circuits that provide any good services that might be beneficial for yourself or for the children, yeah, that have any skills, any products that might be beneficial, let's get into supporting, you know, the communities around us. Yeah, if our friends abroad, if you think of any ideas, yeah, that we can start interacting and opening channels between us, same way, differently to what we're already trying to do, yeah, for use that no, then by all means, man, pull it in, and let's just get these wheels turning. If you know what I'm talking about, yeah, get the wheels spinning, man. Other than that, yeah, okay then. Give thanks for the space, family. I think we can sign out if there's no other questions or comments. Yeah, and I'll see you all in the group, man. I think it's been good. Yeah, so give thanks, everybody.